This is sitting on a bloated inventory.
It's $100,000 now. So he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck.
Have you ever driven past a car dealership and seen row after row of shiny new cars just sitting there? Thousands of brand new vehicles sit on lots every day, waiting for someone to buy them. But here's the kicker, not all of them do. So what happens to those cars that never find a buyer? Do they just sit there for years collecting dust and losing value? Are they sent back to the factory, or do they get scrapped? Well, the answer is far more surprising, strategic, and sometimes shocking than you might expect. And here's the crazy part. Right now, more cars than ever are idling at dealership lots due to unpredictable demand. Let's take the example of the Dodge Charger. There are currently over 6,900 unsold units sitting at dealerships, with an average market day supply of 312 days. That means many of these cars could sit for nearly a year before someone buys them. And it's not just the Charger. Models like the Infiniti QX80, Nissan Titan, and Ford Edge are also piling up, leaving dealerships scrambling to find ways to get them off their lots before they become a financial nightmare. So now the question is, what do dealerships do when they can't sell a car? In this video, we are going to uncover the behind-the-scenes tactics dealers use to clear out unsold cars in the US, and some of which will completely change how you see the car buying process. But before we can dive into the fate of these unsold cars, let's take a minute to understand how dealerships actually operate, because believe it or not, they don't just own these cars outright. Sounds strange, right? Actually, dealerships finance their inventory, just like you would finance a car loan. When a new shipment of cars arrives, the dealer takes out a loan to pay the manufacturer up front. That means every car on the lot is costing the dealership money in loan interest, insurance, and storage fees. So if a car sits too long without selling, it becomes a financial burden. They don't have the luxury of holding on to these cars forever. They need to sell to stay in business. And here's the big issue. Dealerships can't return unsold vehicles to the manufacturer. Once they've bought them, they're stuck with them until they find a way to sell them. So dealerships have to get creative to move these vehicles before they start losing money. So now what? How do they get rid of these cars without losing money? Let's break it down. Tactic number 1, price drops and incentives. One of the first strategies dealerships use when cars aren't selling is lowering the price or offering incentives. This is usually the most direct approach and the one that consumers notice most often. Dealerships try to make the car more attractive to buyers by reducing the price or offer deals that add extra value without cutting too deeply into their profits. Sometimes dealerships will give you perks like free maintenance or a discounted extended warranty. For example, let's look at Ford Escape. According to Car Edge data, dealers across the US are sitting on nearly 58,000 unsold units of this model, with a market supply of over 6 months. To move them, Ford dealers are rolling out aggressive discounts, sometimes cutting up to $5,000 off the MSRP. And it's not just the dealers who are dropping prices. Manufacturers are often stepping in too. If a car isn't selling well, they'll offer additional incentives to dealers to move that car, such as employee pricing deals, cash-back offers, 0% financing, and even lease offers with insanely low monthly payments. Some dealers sweeten the deal even more by offering bundle packages like extended warranties, free maintenance, and sometimes even special trade-in bonuses. So if you're looking for a good deal, slow-selling cars can sometimes offer unbelievable savings. But let's be real sometimes, price drops aren't enough. So what do dealerships do then? Well, that's where the next tactic comes in. But before moving forward, don't forget to subscribe my channel for more tips and tricks. Let's move to the next tactic of dealerships. Tactic number 2, turning new cars into pre-owned cars. If lowering the price isn't enough to sell a car, some dealerships take an interesting approach by turning unsold new cars into pre-owned cars. It sounds odd, but it's a clever tactic that allows the car to be resold at a more attractive price. Let's discuss how this tactic works. If a car has been sitting on a dealership lot for several months without selling, the dealership might put that car into their loaner fleet. Loaner cars are vehicles offered to customers who need a car while their own vehicle is being serviced. This strategy allows the dealership to move the car off the lot, and after it's been driven for a while, it can officially be sold as a used car with a significantly lower price. Since used cars tend to sell faster than new ones, this strategy helps move old inventory without taking too much of a loss. The Honda Civic is an example of a car that might sit on a dealership lot in the US for months before being added to the loaner fleet. After a few months of use, it's sold as a certified pre-owned vehicle, which means it's still in great condition with just a few miles on the odometer, but it's priced lower than a brand new model. Some dealerships also take this approach with demo cars, means cars driven by employees or managers. For example, a BMW 3 Series that has been used by a sales manager for a few months might be sold as a slightly used vehicle. It will still have low mileage and be in nearly new condition, but since it's no longer brand new, it can be sold at a lower price. The advantage for buyers is that they get a luxury car for a fraction of the price. But what happens when this tactic doesn't work and the car just refuses to sell? Then the dealerships move to the next tactic. Tactic number 3, trading cars between dealerships. Not every dealership has the same demand for every type of car. For instance, a convertible Mustang might not sell well in Minnesota due to the long, cold winters, but it could be a hot commodity in a sunny state like California. This discrepancy in demand is why dealerships often trade cars between each other to balance out their inventory. When a car is not selling in one area, the dealership can reach out to another dealership in a region where that car is more likely to sell. For example, a Jeep dealership in New York might have an excess of Jeep Wranglers, but a dealership in Colorado might need them due to the high demand for off-road vehicles in that region. The New York dealership can trade those Wranglers to the Colorado dealership, where they are more likely to sell faster. This helps both dealerships clear out cars that aren't moving fast and ensures they can continue to offer popular models to their local customers. It's a common strategy for specialty colors, specific trims, or models that might not be the right fit for a specific region. Tactic number 4, the auction option. When a car simply won't sell, even with price reductions or trading, dealerships often resort to sending those vehicles to auto auctions. This is typically a last resort tactic, as the dealership often takes a loss on the car, but it's still better than continuing to pay interest on the loan they took out to buy the vehicle. There are 2 types of car auctions that dealerships use: closed auctions and open auctions. Closed auctions are typically for dealerships within a specific brand. For example, Ford might host an exclusive auction for Ford dealerships to bid on unsold Ford cars. These auctions help ensure that the cars don't end up being sold to non-dealers and that the car's resale value remains stable within the brand. Open auctions, on the other hand, are open to any licensed dealer. These auctions can be a free-for-all, and this is where the prices for unsold cars can drop significantly. A Ford F-150 that hasn't sold for months at a dealership in Chicago might be sent to an open auction where it will be sold to the highest bidder. At these auctions, rental car companies are some of the biggest buyers. Companies like Enterprise or Hertz often purchase cars that didn't sell at dealerships, putting them into their rental fleets. It's a great way for rental companies to stock up on low-mileage vehicles at a discount, and it's still better for the dealership than holding on to a car that isn't selling. Now let's talk about the cars that never even make it to the dealership lot. In some cases, manufacturers produce too many cars of a specific model, and by the time they're ready to ship to dealerships, demand for that model has already dropped. In such cases, the manufacturer may opt to store the excess cars in large storage facilities until the market demand catches up. This happens most often with electric vehicles, where some manufacturers overestimated the demand in the US, but are still hopeful that consumer interest will grow as the market for EVs expands. For instance, if a company like Chevrolet produces too many Bolt EVs, but there aren't enough buyers at the moment, they may store those cars until there is more demand. Alternatively, cars that aren't selling well in the US might be exported to international markets where demand is higher. Cars that are unpopular in the US, such as certain sedans, may be sent to countries like China, India, or Brazil, where those types of cars are still in demand. In rare instances, when the loss is too great to handle, a manufacturer may opt to scrap the unsold cars altogether. This often happens with cars that are no longer in production or models that have become extremely unpopular. The cars are dismantled and parts are salvaged for recycling, while the manufacturer writes off the cost as a loss. These cars are destroyed to prevent further devaluation of the brand and its reputation. So next time you pass by a dealership with rows of unsold cars, remember, they won't just sit there forever. Whether it's through price reductions, turning the car into a pre-owned vehicle, trading with other dealerships, or even sending the car to auction, dealerships are constantly working behind the scenes to clear out their inventory. The bottom line is that no matter how unpopular, expensive, or outdated a car may be, it will eventually find a home, whether it's through a price drop, a trade, or an auction. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What's the best car deal you've ever seen? Let's chat about it in the comments.